My name's John Weatherill, so I'm a lecturer in hydrogeology here in UCC in the School of Bees. Hydrogeology is the study of groundwater, so water in the subsurface environment. So it's really about understanding the movement of water in 3 dimensions, and also the movement of contaminants within that subsurface environment system and the interactions between physical, chemical and biological processes. We work a lot with the environmental sector and the engineering sector as well in terms of understanding hydrogeological problems and working with various agencies, organisations and stakeholders in a sort of the catchment environment as well. So I teach a undergraduate module which is a dedicated hydrogeology module. So I call it environmental hydrogeology, where we look at not just the sort of more kind of engineering elements of hydrogeology, but we look at it from an environmental perspective. So we're interested in groundwater really at the landscape scale and looking at environmental interactions with groundwater and also the human environment as well. In Ireland it's very important because 1 in 4 people take their drinking water from a groundwater source, be it a private well or a public water supply. And in other countries like the UK would be something similar as well. And then when you go further afield, you're looking at arid zone countries where everybody's 100% is dependent on groundwater. So in Ireland it's important because we have obviously very high rainfall, we're all familiar with. We got very shallow water tables in Ireland, so we're always sometimes trying to manage groundwater for civil engineering purposes, or when we're looking at basements and things like that in designing buildings, we have to take into account groundwater there. So there's a huge range of work potentially available for hydrogeologists in Ireland, particularly for graduates, in terms of contaminated land work, so remediation of pollutants and risk assessments of pollutants and things like that. But there's also water resource work to be done as well. Irish Water making big investments now in groundwater as an alternative for drinking water sources. And as well, there's a much wider kind of environmental hydrogeology, environmental monitoring element there where there's work and there's a buoyant graduate market. Postgraduate level, we have a new master's program in UCC in applied environmental geoscience, and 15 credits of the modules on that master's are actually hydrogeology as well. So I do an entirely field-based course, and we do things like pumping tests, site investigations, groundwater monitoring. And then I teach a very large 10-credit module on the more kind of theoretical aspects of hydrogeology and contaminated land. So it's quite comprehensive. So the impact of COVID-19 has meant that obviously students aren't in the university on half as much as frequently as before. And all our teaching has moved online now in terms of giving the normal lectures that would have been in the lecture halls. But in terms of practical work and any field teaching, field courses, they can still go ahead now with some restrictions on numbers and obviously practicing social distancing. But most of our teaching, certainly a lot of our assessments and all that work can still be done online like it would have done beforehand. We've all gotten used to working in these new conditions. We've a very good infrastructure set up before any of the COVID restrictions in terms of Canvas and these online learning environments. And so we've just pivoted towards that, to a greater use of Canvas now and things like Panopto for recording. And I think that the transition, whilst it's been taking a lot of getting used to for everybody, I think it's been relatively seamless in terms of the student experience and student learning, certainly at undergraduate level and I think at postgraduate level as well. Why geosciences? I mean, I suppose geoscience is the study of the natural environment, the outdoor environment. It goes for anybody who likes the natural world, who has liked the natural world, who likes to be outside, who also likes to be in the lab sometimes, and also likes to think about how systems behave at a process level and at a conceptual level. In the School of Bees, you're working in an interdisciplinary school, so you're working with environmental scientists, ecologists, zoologists. So there's great cross-disciplinary ethos within the School of Bees, which I think is very interesting. So I think in terms of UCC and the School of Bees, and I think geoscience is it's a growing area. It's certainly a growing field in terms of jobs. If you take it all the way up to master's level, for example, our first year of our master's course, everybody was offered employment, direct employment in the field when they finished. So it's very attractive from a careers point of view